afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Davis, and I am the Dean of the School of Education here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. It is an absolute pleasure that we bring you all here today for the screening of the right to read. As you all know, our city, our nation, literacy is crucial. And we know where we are in terms of preparing our students in the P-12 schools to read. And collectively, with the Pine Bluff School District and our partners and our community, we know that we can make a difference. So I ask that you sit back, take everything in, but it does not end here. We have to come together to make a difference. And the time is now. So after we finish this is not the end. Please look forward to more things in the community where we will discuss how we can work together to make a difference in our schools, in our city, in our university, to make a difference for our schools in reading. We have to be very, very purposeful in making a difference. And I will next move to the stage Ms. Ariana Sims, who is one of our MAT students. She is majoring in elementary education, and she is currently a teacher at Friendship Aspire.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ariana Sims, and I am a second grade teacher in Pine Bluff at Friendship Aspire Academy, Pine Bluff, downtown. I am also an alumni of Pine Bluff High School and the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, where I am currently earning my master's in elementary education. I've grown up in Pine Bluff, and I am so happy to still be in Pine Bluff. I'm only in my third year of teaching, but I've been teaching for much longer than 3 years. As a child, I taught Sunday school and children's time at my church, and I've always enjoyed working with children. I've always had a love for reading. I remember when I was in second grade, my mom ordered me some chapter books from Barnes & Noble. We had to go to Little Rock to pick them up. By the time we had drove back to Pine Bluff, I had already read one of the books. I also remember another time that my mom ordered me some books to occupy me while we went on a road trip. Well, I had finished all of those books before we even left for the road trip. So you can imagine how angry my mom was. However, my mom always taught me the power of literacy and reading. She played a big role in helping me develop a love for reading. And now I am instilling this love in my scholars today. Each day in our classroom, my scholars and I are practicing phonemic awareness and developing foundational skills for reading. Each week, our students are introduced to 10 spelling words that contain the same primary focus vowel team syllable type for that week, and an additional 10 high-frequency words. That is a total of 20 words in 1 week. I know that sounds like a lot, but it is very much necessary. Let's think about the high-frequency word about. It is spelled A-B-O-U-T. However, it is not pronounced about. We have to inform scholars that the vowel team O and U sometimes make the sound ow, like in couch and ouch. This is why it is so important to learn these skills at the earliest age possible. I want you to know that a lot of these things that you will see in the documentary tonight are happening right here in Pine Bluff schools. The science of reading has been practiced in Arkansas for a handful of years now, and we are making great progress. You can help us and your child by reading at home. The more words that children write, the more words that children read and write, the bigger their vocabulary grows and the more confident they will become in reading. Thank you.
Good evening. I love the crowd. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here to be a part of this exciting opportunity for our town. Today, well, by the way, my name is Jennifer Barbary, Superintendent of Pine Bluff School District, the proud superintendent of Pine Bluff School District. fortunate enough today to welcome the director of the film and Mr. LeVar Burton to our school today. They were able to speak and talk with our teachers. They're working so hard in the classroom to ensure that our students are growing and learning. They've spent hours and hours of time in training, hours of time in lesson planning and preparing for our students. And so I just want to say thank you to our educators. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting our schools. Thank you for all the support that you give us. And I have the pleasure of introducing tonight's feature film director, Ms. Jenny McKenzie.
Thank you, Jennifer. I am so happy to be here at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff screening our film, The Right to Read, and talking about why early literacy is our greatest civil right. Early literacy is deeply connected to our democracy. If our children can't read, they can't participate in that democracy. They can't vote. They can't order at a restaurant. They can't fill out a job application. They can't fill out healthcare applications. So we want them all to read. And as you will meet the amazing Kareem Weaver, he says early literacy is truly our greatest civil right. Thank you, Dr. Kimberly Davis, Dean of the School of Education. We know you're doing great stuff here at Pine Bluff, and Chancellor Alexander for making today's event possible. We also appreciate Dr. Davis's efforts and the Dean at UAPB for working so diligently to enhance the teacher pipeline and prepare future teachers for important work that is grounded in the science of reading. I'd also like to share our appreciation for Pine Bluff School District Superintendent Jennifer Barbary. She and her community have had some significant wins towards local control and doing some very foundational work. Right? Since we premiered the film in March, we hoped to reach audiences of students preparing to enter the teaching profession, and HBCUs have been at the top of our list. This shouldn't surprise you. We need more Black educators in the field to solve this problem. In just the past few months, we've been able to bring the film to Norfolk State, Morehouse College, which is Kareem's alma mater. You'll see that in the film. Morgan State, and now here we are. This screening caps off a 3-day tour in Arkansas, and where better and more appropriate to be than Pine Bluff, one of the oldest HBCUs in the country and second oldest public college in the state. Reading is personal for me, and that's why I made this film. I was that kid who didn't want to get called on. I was the kid who was ducking in the back of the room, and at the age of 14, I got really, really lucky because my mom took me to an educational psychologist, and I was diagnosed with dyslexia. But I had parents who were really able to access resources, but I didn't get resources until I was 14. And that is way too late. So what we are now doing is we are doing early dyslexia screening. And this is National Dyslexia Awareness Month. So we should celebrate all the good work that is happening with that early screening. But we really have to solve this problem for everyone, not just the privileged few and the lucky ones, right? In America, everybody, more than a third of our nation's fourth graders cannot read at a basic level. A basic level is illiterate. Those are the kids that aren't reading, and that's catastrophic from our perspective. We think that is a 3-alarm fire that we should all be talking about. In Arkansas, only 30% of fourth grade students are reading at that level of 26%. So it's bad across the nation, and as Kareem says, we're sort of all in a bus that's going off a cliff. So it's going to take all of us to solve this problem. And the issue is the third of the kids that are reading below basic don't lack the skills to learn to read, right? They just haven't been taught with evidence-based reading instruction to crack the code. Right, doctor? That's it. So we have the evidence, we have the research, but now what we have to do is do what we are doing here at Pine Bluff in the School of Ed. We have to take that research and that evidence and implement it into the classroom practice, right? So you have big progress. We've passed the LEARNS Act, but now we have to figure out how we are going to be successful in this marathon, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And this is going to take time, it's going to take patience, and it's going to take perseverance. We're about to watch the film, and what this film, I hope, will do is several things. First, I hope it'll entertain you. I hope you'll be in it. I hope you'll be there with the families that are remarkable, with Mr. Kareem Weaver. But I really hope this allows you to think about the literacy crisis in a deeper dive way. A social justice film like this is really just a tool to catalyze conversation. And that's what we're going to do after the film. We're going to have a deeper dive conversation with two remarkable people. But this is an all of us issue, and we really have to be together on the same page. It's really not about the color of our stripe. It is about the future of our children, and it's about the future of our democracy. I hope you enjoy the film. And if you don't, just don't say anything at Q&A, okay? And I will be back here, as you've heard, with two extremely special guests. The hero of our film, who is Mr. Kareem Weaver, an NAACP activist, and I think a hero to all of us, Mr. LeVar Burton. And we really couldn't have dreamed of a more impactful executive producer who cares about racial justice and literacy. So stick around, we want to hear your thoughts, and we want you to hear the conversation afterwards. Thank you. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. It was fun to see you watch the film, which is always a treat for me. I am very excited to introduce you to two special guests and have a discussion about everything you saw in the film, about how we really can support our children to read by using evidence-based reading instruction in schools, because there is nothing that matters more than our babies and our next generation. Kareem Weaver is the lead character in this film. He's fairly inspirational, right? And he is the co-founder of the literacy nonprofit Fulcrum, which focuses on improving literacy rates in California and across the country. He is an award-winning educator, leader, and activist, and he is the chair of the Oakland NAACP Education Committee. He is also a producer of this film, and this film was truly a process of deep collaboration. Kareem, give it up for this film. I don't know if our friend LeVar Burton needs any introduction. If you're not familiar, he is quite a human being. He is best known for his television roles as Kunta Kinte in Roots. Props, everybody, right? I mean, changed America and changed what we really knew about our history. He is also known for his roles on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and of course, as the host of the beloved PBS Reading Rainbow series. For us, I think making this film to find an executive producer like this human who truly is the real deal and is deeply passionate about equity, civil rights, and literacy, it is part of his life's work. I think he will come up here and tell you how connected this is to really his soul's purpose. Please give a Pine Bluff welcome to LeVar Burton.
afternoon. That's Good afternoon. Good afternoon. That's the Pine Bluff spirit I was looking to feel. Yes, the long question. Had to be the white man. Sometimes you can't take them everywhere. I'm just kidding.
You're number 2.
Number 2 at
Michelle Nichols.
There you go. She was. I'll tell you, she was the reason my family watched Star Trek. I grew up in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future was one that represented for people who looked like me. And that meant something as a young black kid growing up in Sacramento, California. During the Civil Rights Movement, it was not always that I don't need to tell anybody who related to the South how easy it wasn't being black in America. But Star Trek was a beacon of light for me. And I've grown up and become a part of that storytelling. I don't have words to express how important that is to me and my family. So, props to you. Appreciate you.
Representation that really matters.
Representation matters, yeah. It does.
LeVar, you jumped in already with storytelling, but let's go back and share more with everybody about your past. You come from a family where literacy mattered, education mattered.
Still does.
Teaching is in your genes.
Right.
Tell everyone really about your passion, not just for literacy, but how then you wound up in educational television and the Reading Rainbow's story.
Like Jenny said, I come from a family of teachers. My mother, originally Christian. Every time I have an opportunity to speak my mother's name in front of people, I do. Irma, Jean, Christian, E-R-M-A. G-E-N-E. She had a masculine spelling. My mother was both my mother and my father. And her name presaged that event in my life. My mother was the first person in her family to go to college. She got her first degree in English language and literature from Philander Smith, not far from where we sit. That's right. Who has roots in the HBCU system? Okay? And there that she met my father, LeVar Burton Sr., who was from Paragon, Arkansas. My roots run deep in this state. And I'm here in Little Rock for the very first time in my life. And I'm feeling deep. So if you're a Burton, you're probably in the education business. My mother was an English teacher before she became a social worker. She had 2 professions in her career. My elder sister, both of her daughters, my nieces, my son, are all in education. It's the family business, education. My life went in a different direction. I studied for the Catholic priesthood earlier in my life, and then decided not to wear the cloth, but to become a man in the world. And theater arts became my passion. However, I didn't stray far away from the education mission. Television became my pulpit, and literacy became the word, the message. So this work, this film, really highlights the situation that holds us back as a nation more than any other, I believe. Historically, this nation has made a decision. This is a conscious decision that America has made to give less to students of color, to give less to people of color, in the hopes of continuing to keep us down. I think this society has done everything in its power to subjugate and oppress black people because the fear deep down in the heart, has always been that we would rise up and revolt. Education was denied us. The foot and knee was strategically applied to our necks so that we couldn't rise and revolt. And if rising and revolting was on our minds and our intention, it would have been over a long time ago. What we want, what we have always wanted, was an equal shot at this American dream. A fair chance to make good on the opportunities in this country. And for me, education is the key. For me, education is freedom. If you are free, if you are educated, no one can hold sway over your mind.
That's true.
No one can imprison your imagination. No one can hold you back from your most full potential. And that's why this film and what it says, what it talks about, is so important to me. This is a battle for our freedom all over again. It's the final frontier. You feel me? And if we don't get this right this time, God help us. So, that's why I signed on to support this film when I saw it for the first time. This man, getting it done at the point of purchase, right? Where the rubber meets the road, where it matters the most, in the trenches, right? These two are both warriors in this fight. I think that's what I came to say.
It's just, yeah. Was someone recording that, I hope? And can you please send it to me? Because those were remarkable words. So, from your heart, LeVar, and I want to pivot to the man who is so remarkable on your right, who I think, you called him a literacy warrior, Kareem. I think when you and I first met, you said, I'm a foot soldier for the NAACP. And tell us a little bit about your backstory, Kareem. You made a promise when you were a Morehouse man to a classmate of yours. And this, I think, in a similar way to LeVar, is a calling of yours. I'm going right there, Kareem.
So, first of all, it's great to be here. I love this school, and I have a daughter who's a freshman in college. She almost came here with Coach Bumpers, the softball team. But y'all didn't have to make it this year. So, I know. She really wanted to be here.
Are there any hard feelings there, Kareem?
Was that?
Hard feelings?
Yeah, a little bit. So when I was in Morehouse, a brother of mine, his name's Ennis, Bill Cosby's son, and Ennis was my study partner. He drove me crazy because he was very easygoing, very mild-mannered. He was dyslexic. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about dyslexia, but he really struggled in school. His grades weren't good. He was my study partner. This is a problem. Cosby is a problem. But then he went to a place, Landmark College. It's a school that specializes in supporting young people with dyslexia and learning difficulties. He came back a new man. He went from basically like a D student, barely D's, to A and B student. And Dennis told me, he was like, Kareem, because he wanted to go into special ed to support kids who had his situation. I wanted to go into just teaching general elementary school because I wanted to save kids from good. So he was like, man, he said, I know you're concerned about the school to prison pipeline. when you have dyslexia and nobody knows it, you're already in jail. It's just different. Yeah. That's true. So he and I made a promise. We were going to solve the reading crisis. That was our thing. You know, we're committed to it as brothers. And unfortunately, he passed on. He was 96 or so, something like that. And so I'm still at it.
I passed by the spot where Ennis was murdered 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh man, the word is bond, and we promise each other that we would stay true to it. Especially since this is a solvable crisis. It's not like this is something that we can't do. We just gotta make up our mind to do it and stick to it. So that's a big part of why I'm doing what I do, and trying my best to stay true.
So beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about our teeny babies and really what it means when we see a family like these 2 remarkable, real families, amazing families, 2-parent families who love their kids, who are doing everything right to launch their kids into success. But when we think about, I think in the film, Kareem, there's something about really reading does start in the womb. You're reading in that opening archival footage. Margot's a baby. She's a college freshman now. Talk about really what are the important ways of bridging that early literacy and reading to kids early and interacting with them early. And the Hunter family is talking all the time to Ivy. Why does that matter?
I think that's the key. It's talking to kids. More than just sit down, be quiet, close your mouth. You know, we do that. But in addition to that, we have to actually build their language and their vocabulary so they can kind of make sense of the world. That's how you develop their language skills. And then you can start to attach these symbols, these representations of sound to things once you crack the code. But it's first, you know, I often say, I'm sure you all have heard of ADD. It's a big thing. And I always say our kids are truly suffering from ADD because it's a deficit of attention being paid to them. They got ADD for sure. That's really what's going on. But that's part of it. Is really attending to our kids and talking to them, listening to them, and building their language skills. That's just part of raising healthy children. I heard Brother Burton say the other night, you were talking about reading to a child even in the womb. Yeah, you can say a little bit about that, because that was powerful.
But first I said that I get asked all the time by parents, how do I get my child to read more? And I generally turn it right around and ask them 2 questions. One, I ask them, do you know what your child is passionate about? Because it's our passions that tend to drive our reading appetites. And I've said for years, if your kid likes superheroes, then damn it, buy your kid comic books. Because I really don't care what the gateway drug is, I just want kids to read, okay? And then I ask them, and this is the really important question, how often do your children see you reading? Because it's that modeling that really has an impact. We know that they will do what they see us do, right? That's true. And so, when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, who is 29 now, I read to Seth's stomach, not every night, but almost every night, book after book, while Michaela was in utero. We know that playing music, that has an impact. They move around in there all the time. We know that when they come out and they connect, and it's the voice, the first they can't even see, but they hear those familiar voices. I think the words continually entering that safe, dark space. It's one of the constants I wanted her to have in that world of incubation and gestation. I wanted her to be familiar with words and the written word, hearing it aloud. She's one of the best writers I know. And I believe that, in fact, it's partly because of those pre-birth exposures to literature.
I mean, what I'm hearing you both say is whether you're reading, whether you're talking, really paying attention, having those conversations, you are sharing stories, you are increasing their vocabulary, you're exposing them to language, and those pre-literacy skills really set kids up to succeed by building their vocabulary, right? Listening to those words, even if we aren't reading to them. I mean, reading is the best gift you can give a kid, but we do know that reading to a child isn't the same as teaching them how to read. And every teacher who is trained in the science of reading will be able to go into a classroom and teach children to effectively read, right? Kareem, were you going to add something? Oh.
How many of y'all have ever heard of Marvin Collins?
Oh.
Okay, my folks. Yeah, so Marvin Collins, so we call it science of reading now.
Yeah.
That's kind of a newer term, but that's what she was doing. That's what she was doing in Chicago, and even before that, Arkansas. I mean, and so it's like, but it worked. That's the bottom line, is that it worked. And, I understand now that this newer explanation of it is getting attention, but it's simply a matter of doing what we know works.
Yes.
That's really all this is. It's not something that hasn't been done. Our kids can do it. The kids can do it. I know there's trauma, and I know there's issues and circumstances, and life is tough sometimes. I know it's a whole lot tougher when you can't read.
That's right.
So I just want to just name that. I'm not saying it's always easy, and things do happen in life, but if we are paying attention to our kids and really supporting them in the ways that they need, this has got to be at the top of the list. It really does.
Across political lines.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because if we can't agree that our children and their future are the most important things to us in this society, then why are we here? Right? That's true. That is our function as the adults, as the elders in the society. We have to train our successors. It's up to us. So this is not an inconsequential conversation that we're having. This is real.
So, LeVar, to invest in that next generation, we have to invest in teachers who are truly our heroes. And what we really hope in the film is we don't want parents or teachers to ever feel shame or blame. The more you know, the better you do, right? But talk about Miss Causey, who, what a joy to watch you watch the film. When the Markham slide comes up about the statistics, you all clapped. It was so sweet. But here's a teacher who is taking risks, LeVar, and talk about how you feel watching her put her job on the line.
She risked it all to serve her kids. That's what love looks like, right? That's what love feels like. It's what it sounds like, tastes like. Sacrifice, right? There's not a person in this room who doesn't have someone in their life, probably a parent or a grandparent, someone who made significant sacrifices for our well-being, right? Raise your hand if you had somebody sacrifice for you in your life, right? Brother raised both hands. Right? She was willing to put it all on the line because she loved her kids and she saw that as her responsibility. It takes that kind of commitment. But it doesn't need to take that kind of commitment. We need to support teachers like Sabrina Causey, right? We need to put the tools in their hands so they can turn around and help those kids reach their full potential. Right? And that's why she's a hero to me. I love that one.
I know you do. Kareem, Talk about what it takes to put the tools in teachers' hands. LeVar is mentioning this. What does that mean? How are we going to hold ourselves accountable? What do we need to do that to help teachers succeed across the country?
Well, first of all, a couple things. You need good leadership. Leadership matters. And I tell you, we kind of are in a leadership crisis because we have folks who have been doing things a certain way, and they've been leading it. And it's hard for them. It's hard for them to step back and say, I'll be I'm kind of made a mistake. I didn't know this, or I didn't pivot that. Because if they acknowledge that, then maybe some way they're afraid people not going to look up to them. Their position might get shaky. Their credibility might be undermined. So they rather just not say something and keep on going. But sometimes leadership shows up with humility. And it's okay to say, you know what? When you know better, you do better. People will respect that. Most people will, I know they're afraid of having their status undermined, but most people will understand it if you're honest and forthcoming. And say, I'm going to learn right along with you. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to be there with you. We're going to figure this out. That's the kind of leadership you need. Right now, we don't have a lot of that right now. And that's one of the biggest problems. Another problem is, and you mentioned in the film, is the materials, the curriculum. Listen, education, in addition to being a service of the soul, unfortunately, it's also big business. There's a lot of money being made selling all kind of stuff. Now, to be fair, I used to throw rocks at publishers. I still do. I still do. But I've also had to come to terms with some things. I met with the CEO of a publishing company because they won't want me just talking bad about them all the time. Let's come in, let's talk about this, let's work. Okay, we can talk. She said, Kareem, if we were selling cars in Texas, we would sell electric vehicles. They don't want electric vehicles in Texas. They want big, long SUVs, gas guzzlers. So we have to do what the customer wants. In education, I know what you're saying. The science of reading, I believe you, but that's not what they want. And she said, and I quote, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders. I can't sell them something they don't want. I had to step back for a second.
Oh boy.
I had to really check myself because I was on her real tough. And she's saying, I know you're saying this, I believe you, but that's not what they're asking for. So part of it is on us to demand what's best for our kids. And then if they don't do that, then we can throw all the rocks we want to. So, but our audio has to match our video. The things we say we prioritize, our kids has to match up with what we do. So.
Matching what you say with what you do, to me, means integrity, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. As we're talking about teachers and schools, we've had an incredible 3 days in Arkansas, y'all. And we started at the State Superintendent's Conference, had a screening in Little Rock. And today we had 2 remarkable school visits. And I think as we're talking about seeing kids learn to crack the code, LeVar, I just wanted to invite you to talk about watching a remarkable teacher this morning in action, doing a decoding phonics blending lesson with kids, and your experience.
It was very emotional for me to see those kids cracking the code. And I got emotional because it struck me that they aren't even aware of how critical what they're doing is to their future, right? They were just engaged in the lesson and they were getting it, right? And the teacher just had such charisma, right? And they were having fun. And they were into it. And I sat there and I watched and I realized they don't know what they're doing, right? I mean, they know what they're doing, but they don't know the impact that it's going to have on their lives, right? Smells like freedom. That's right. That's right. That's right. The gift of literacy is freedom. For the individual and for society as well, right? We have to stop raising generations of children who turn into adults that cannot read. It's always gratifying to see young black kids, bright, right? And getting it. And so impressive. So impressive. I could not control my emotional response. It spilled out of my eyes. And it was just beautiful. It was a good day. Today was a good day. Today was a good day.
And they were happy tears.
They were. They were.
And young black kids with an incredible black teacher.
And then we went to another school and talked to teachers who are implementing this curriculum. And again, it was wonderful to be in the presence of a table full of teachers, predominantly black women. Women who represented to me my mother. Right?
Yes.
Getting it done at the point of purchase, in the trenches, where the rubber meets the road. It was a good day. It was a good day.
Are any of those Pine Bluff teachers here? We'd love to give you a shout out. It was incredible. Just stand up and give us a wave.
Welcome, ladies.
So appreciate the work that you're doing. Kareem, you observed both school visits too. Thoughts, reflections?
You know, having been a teacher for a long time and a principal, I know the path to get to where they got, or they're getting to. There's a lot that goes, there's a lot of training, a lot of professional development, a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of study, there's a lot of preparation, it takes leadership, it takes a lot of curriculum. I'm thinking of all the boxes that have to be checked when they turn out like that. And it takes the people putting their mind to it, putting their hands to the plow. So when I was there, I was just going through my checklist. Okay, so they did this, I see that they did that. I know they must have went to their training or this, that. Okay, and she's doing the same thing the other teacher in other classes. They must be collaborating, I mean, to get along. I mean, I'm thinking through, it takes all of that. So part of it, there's a technical part, there's also just us as people being diligent. And that's what I saw today. I saw diligence. The behind the scenes stuff that was going through my mind. Educators, you know, there's just a lot that goes into it that folks don't see. Every lesson has to be planned. You know, and sometimes the planning takes more than a lesson. Especially if you have kids in there who need a lot of support. You got to plan for those kids. So I was just looking at the lesson and the conversations and the joy that the kids had. I remember. I mean, the kids were. If you ever hear people say, you know, phonics is boring or all that, you should have seen the kids today. I don't know what classroom they go to, but the classrooms that we saw, those kids were live and in color. They were happy as could be. Learning. Learning is fun. You know, it's fun. That was my big takeaway. You know, whatever the subject is, we have to bring ourselves to it. You can say chemistry is boring, but you get that right teacher, and then make that thing come alive. And I saw the same thing today in that too. So those are my takeaways.
Beautiful, beautiful. As we come to a close, I want to bring us back to civil rights and literacy being our greatest civil right. I think, Kareem, I want to start with you. Here we are in Arkansas. Had an amazing day today. I was able to visit Central High School and have a walkthrough with a remarkable principal who's been there for 22 years. And just, you know, being there with the Little Rock 9 and the experience and the history was quite remarkable. What advice for you do you have, looking back, Kareem, being at our 5th HBCU, where we really want to make an impact because we want to see more Black teachers be trained and we want to get more Black teachers into the schools. What are your thoughts?
I have a few thoughts. I think, first of all, we definitely need more Black teachers. Absolutely. And 72% of teachers are white. And 80% of elementary teachers are women. So I want as many Black teachers as I can get. And guess what? I want whoever is in front of my child to be ready to go.
Yep.
I want them to be prepared. I want them to have love in their heart. I want them to have the right materials. I want them to be able to communicate lovingly to my child, regardless of what you look like when you step in the door. I need you to be ready. And this is an everybody thing. Black folks have traditionally taken the lead. I always say the best educators, this is my opinion, the best educators this country ever had were those people who taught enslaved persons at risk of their lives. In the cane breaks, rush hours. I mean, it wasn't about college and career readiness. It wasn't about getting them a different career. It wasn't anything other than recognizing their humanity and giving them what their soul yearned for. And at a human level, to me, that goes through generations. That's a legacy that's laid down. And whoever has the chalk, well, nowadays, dry erase marker, right? Whoever has it in their head, that's a baton. That's a baton being passed down to you. That's a baton. But those who come before us, who have risked it all to free a mind, to teach a child to read, to crack the code, to recognize their humanity. That's a baton. I always looked at those markers with my time chalk like that, because really that's what this profession is all about.
LeVar, I'm going to let you close. I think Kareem has shared so much that brings me back to you at 19 years old and meeting someone who's been connected to you ever since in the role that you played. What are your thoughts around civil rights and literacy, and what do you want to share with the audience as we close?
I am certain that were he here today, Alex Haley, would agree with me when I say that, like all civil rights in this country, the right to read is one we will have to fight for, because it will not be given to us otherwise. This is not a gimme in America, that every child has the right to read. We have to assume that there will be resistance. The past is prelude to the present, right? So if we want this for our children and for succeeding generations, then we will have to stand up and make it clear that we will take it by any and every means necessary.
I hope you will all join me in giving our amazing 2 stars a huge round of applause and thank you for being here. Kareem Weaver, LeVar Burton, everybody.